Hello, and welcome to our final instalments of this Torch Theatre podcast, where we look to the future, where we'll chat with key people who are steering this future and consider what might lie ahead. Here's Ben on the creative imperative.
As I mentioned, it took a long time for someone like me to feel welcome and worthy, and like the arts and theatre in particular, it was accessible to me. It took years of going away and studying drama and literature and attending all kinds of arts forms before I felt like I could dip my toe in and actually go and make a difference. And so for me, I believe really fundamentally that everyone, it's in the nature of human beings to have a creative urge. There is a creative kind of imperative built into us, whether that's dancing around on stage or whether that's gardening or whether that's construction or whatever it might be. And if I could sum up my motivations in any way, it's to ensure that we are opening up opportunities for as many people as possible to express themselves, because I really think it can be really damaging when people aren't able to express themselves and fulfill their creative urges.
During our chats, it's become clear how powerful an influence Pete Doran has been as mentor and how many people have been given opportunities by him. We've had to limit these because we don't want Pete to be spotted around Pembrokeshire with an enormous head. Here's Yasemin and Janine.
He's given so many people their first opportunity, their first professional job, and people remember things like that.
And he's been such a great mentor for me and given me opportunities that I possibly may not have had.
And much loved Dame Dion Davis, who talks about Pete's resourcefulness and how he arrived at the Torch.
Well, I wanted to work at the Torch for many years, and I tried to get Pete to come and watch me in different shows and what have you, and he wouldn't come. But in the end, he did come and see me I was doing a show called Halt Who Goes There for Theatre na Nog, and he came to watch the show and he enjoyed it, I think, and he obviously enjoyed my performance because he came up and offered me Jack and the Beanstalk. But he actually offered me the part of Jack. And, I'm obviously a little rotund. And he said, we're going to have a different Jack. You're going to be a big Jack, And I was like, okay, that's great, And then it's like maybe a couple of weeks before we started rehearsing, he phoned me up and said, look, my Dame's dropped out. And he said, would you like to play Dame? I was like, I've never played Dame before. Do you know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, you'll be able to do it. Yeah, let's go for it, But he's, his comedy is so good. He's helped me all along. And I've just got better and more confident as the years have gone by. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and that's how, literally I've become a Dame.
Yeah, well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You seem to me to be totally to the manner born.
Ben, chief executive of the Torch, had started his job a few weeks before COVID struck. Here, he and Janine talk about the impact of COVID.
What I experienced when I walked in the door was an awful lot of warmth and affection for the place, really committed set of volunteers, a community that really loves the place, and a staff team that are really dedicated. But of course, I went from that and thinking about all my plans for the future and how we can build and celebrate this place and make it more and more accessible and increase the reach of the work that the Torch does, into within weeks just immediately focused on survival.
I mean, COVID has been the biggest challenge, I would say, for the Torch. And when that happened, and I'd just taken on at the time, I took on film programming. When I first started in the programming job, we were outsourcing it. I decided to take it on in-house, and it was such a big responsibility. And I was being mentored by Dilwyn, the chief exec at Muldan. Just before we went into lockdown, it was my first film programme that I'd set on my own, and I was really pleased with it, and I was looking forward to that going live. It was like the release of the James Bond movie, And then it was just everything kept dropping off very slowly. And then, of course, we went into lockdown. So it was a real knock. And it has taken its toll on the theatre, and we're still trying to recover from that. And I think we will be for quite a long time. But yeah, hopefully with some staff morale, we can build that all back up again and be guided by Ben and now Chelsey stepping in. So looking forward to that.
I can't say it was enjoyable, but what I can say is that you do tend to see the best of people in those kind of circumstances. And I was really pleased to see the response of the team here, the generosity and care they gave to audience members and to each other, and vice versa, seeing how the audiences rallied around and supported the torch. So that was really reassuring and gratifying and heartening over those first couple of difficult years.
I mean, I think honestly, going through COVID, I really think Ben. I don't think if we didn't have Ben and his knowledge and his skills and his tenacity, I think we would have been on rocky ground for sure. But the senior management team, I think, have pulled it all together and kept us afloat as much as possible.
So we're coming to the end of our story of the torch now, and we asked our contributors how they saw the torch moving forward.
So there've been a lot of difficulties, and we face a particular challenge now, that perfect storm of financial crisis and foreign wars and stresses on funding. So we'll have to take the opportunity to kind of reimagine and evolve with that to ensure that we're still doing something really meaningful and rewarding for our community, but in a way that's going to sustain.
So I'm Chelsey. I am the incoming artistic director of the Torch.
And how do you imagine the Torch going forward?
Well, that's the big question for me. Definitely, that's the big one. As I've already talked about a little bit, it's about finding those things that have worked really well over the years and putting more investment into those things, but also looking for the opportunities that we maybe haven't been able to exploit, and looking at where those gaps are and what we maybe haven't been doing. I'm really interested in a lot of local history and local personalities, local characters, and kind of excavating those stories and finding their modern relevance and seeing how they could maybe be put on our stages. I definitely see Panto as a big part going forward. Obviously, that was my only relationship to theatre for most of my childhood, so it's something that I hold very dear, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the Panto next year. And a big part of what I'm wanting to do is around communities and young people, and the Torch has got this huge history of having a wonderful youth theatre and doing incredible community projects like the Pembrokeshire Story that happened throughout lockdown, and really investing in those areas more as well, and making sure that people locally to the theatre really feel like it belongs to them, and that they are allowed to have an opinion about the building, and they're allowed to be in the building, and they can tell us when we're doing things right and when we're doing things wrong and what they'd like to see more of. So making sure that our youth and community work is a real kind of gem in everything that we do.
I mean, I think, one of the key things is going to be our links and our interaction with the community really going forward. We need to build, I think, new links. I think we've always had sort of good links with the older generation. I think now we need to really focus on the younger generation, the people who are very much into, the internet, social media, all of that kind of stuff. It's how we embrace that and get them engaged with the theatre. Those are the key things for me, really, because I think technology is changing.
And I'm particularly interested myself in finding out how we can engage more with those more difficult to reach groups and people who wouldn't automatically think of the Torch Theatre as somewhere where they would go or could be involved with. So I feel we're on the brink of potentially doing some really good pieces of work in the coming months and years, and it'll be very interesting to be a part of that and to see how that all develops, because I think it's only through change really that the sustainability of the organisation will be there.
Definitely. We asked everyone if they were making a podcast or a show about the torch, how would it be? And we'll end on these. So thanks for listening. Thanks to all our contributors. Sorry if you'd love to have been in the podcast, but we didn't get through to you in time. And huge thanks to all the volunteers and the audiences who support the torch.
Actually, my first thought is the people who work here and have worked here over the years. There are people that I haven't met yet, but I hear their names in the office, and even though they've maybe retired or moved on somewhere else, they're still part of the fabric of the building. So it's a lot about the people who work here and audience members, you know, the regulars who people know by name and they like their seat that they always sit in, those people. And something that has been a big part of my time here already is the volunteers who work here, you know, sitting down with them and hearing their ideas and their love for the building. I think that's, for me, is what has made the torch feel different to anywhere else, is just that love, you know, that people have. Once they know what the building is and have become a part of it, they really do, yeah, they're really sewn into every nook and cranny of the building. So yeah, that's a bit nebulous, but all those people, all of them, a big cast in this piece of art. Yes, yeah.
Ooh. Oh gosh, that is a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah. I used to watch this programme called Drop the Dead Donkey. I don't know if anybody ever seen it, where they started based around the team working in the background. And I often think that would be a good way to view the theatre, because some of the stories you could really go to town with, you know. For me, that would be my sitcom, really, and it would just have every element in it, you know, not just what's happening on the stage, but what's actually happening in the background. That's where the gems are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, it'd have to be a huge selection of characters in that, and one of the things that props would have to make sure is that there weren't the safety closing bars on the doors, because I have been in a situation where someone's tried to slam a door in my office and they haven't been able to because the safety bar wouldn't let them slam the door. It's one of those places, you could say sometimes there's more drama off the stage than there is on the stage, but that's part of all of the vibrancy of the building and the theatre.
Oh God, I think it would have to be some kind of comedy sitcom for sure, of across all departments whilst the show was going on, actually, so you could have backstage interviews at the same time and get a clear picture from all departments in the building. That would be brilliant. And comedy for sure, because it is a comedy show a lot of the time.
I mean, again, for me, I suppose it is the whole environment of the theatre, really. It is the interactions between, you know, the front of house, backstage, the staff interactions with the customers and with the volunteers. It's all of that, really. Because we've often said we could easily write almost like a soap opera of the torch, you know, because with all the different personalities. And a former colleague of mine years ago said, when I first started here, he said, "Oh, love, you know, I tell you what, there'll be more handbags and Dawn than there will be on the stage," he said, "so you've just got to get used to it." And I think that's true, because we're all drawn to a business or an environment like this for a specific reason, and I think there is an element of drama in all of us, really. So